in my own personal networks and things like that. Didn't charge any money, thought it would be a hobby at first, but the second it kind of got a little bit of traction, I would say early 2019, people were actually signing up and meeting with me and sharing these hopes and dreams and fears and needs and wants with me. I realized, oh my God, I love this. I want to do this all the time. And that's when I decided, okay, this isn't just a hobby anymore. It's like a legit business. That means I can't focus 3 hours on marketing. I can't sit there and make a TikTok for 3 hours. That means I cannot do an Instagram live. That means I cannot go out and hang out with my friends. I can't go on vacation. There's other things that I had to either reevaluate as priorities in my life so that I had the time and energy to take this from a hobby to a true full-fledged business. Welcome back to the S Factor. My name is Radha Patel. I run a matchmaking service for South Asian singles. My success factor is building community.
Hello, Radha. Welcome to the S Factor. How are you today?
Hi, Tarek. I'm doing wonderful. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. It's actually a very pleasant day given that we've just hit winter. But you know what? I'm very excited about our conversation today. And I want to get started. But, as we're both from South Asian background, we are very familiar with matchmaking, and I'm sure most people are in our culture, right? But just so that we can spread the word to other people and clarify any kind of myths or whatever there might be out there. What is matchmaking? Or who is a matchmaker?
Yeah, it's an antiquated notion, but it's kind of resurfaced recently in pop culture. So I get this question all the time, Tarek. It's a great way for us to get started. So matchmaking, it happens not just romantically, but it happens in real estate, careers. The idea is bringing two different entities, one, each with a particular need together in a way that they can work together towards a common goal or future. What matchmaking means in dating is trusting a third party, such as myself, with your kind of needs, wants, and desires from the opposite gender or opposite a person that you're interested in order to make a relationship or a future together. So that's a little bit about what matchmaking is and how I use it in my business.
Excellent. And we are going to be talking about your business in particular. But before that, how did you become a matchmaker?
Yeah, I think you could tell from just our interactions, Tarek. I love meeting new people. I love connecting people based on what their passions are, what they're interested in. And I've been doing this my entire life. But I feel like it was a particular inflection point in the summer of 2018 where I had a couple of my family friends who were single would reach out to me saying, hey, Radha, if you know anybody interested in meeting somebody. I even had a couple of my parents' friends, that generation, asked me if I knew single people. And I'm married. I have children. I've never used a dating app, kind of had to go through all of this. And here I am, post-marriage, 10 years. Why are people asking me for help? And that's when I realized it's because the options that were available to them, technology included, it just wasn't working. The landscape was changing and they weren't getting the connections and the meaningful relationships they were looking for. And I guess I was well suited, according to my friends and family who did seek me out, I was well suited to jump into that role of matchmaker. And that's how I get started 4 years ago. It's amazing how time flies.
Excellent. And 4 years ago, the company that you have started has thrived over the years. So tell us how you got started with the business and tell us how it has progressed along those years.
I think like any business, you just get started by throwing up an Instagram page or a website and seeing kind of who's out there or who's interested in this, especially a service-based business where I knew that the product or the offering was myself. So I kind of just put up an Instagram page, created a real simple website, and just started marketing it in my own personal networks and things like that. Didn't charge any money, thought it would be a hobby at first, but the second it kind of got a little bit of traction, I would say early 2019, people were actually signing up and meeting with me and sharing these hopes and dreams and fears and needs and wants with me. I realized, oh my God, I love this. I want to do this all the time. And that's when I decided, okay, this isn't just a hobby anymore. It's like a legit business. So I put some structures into place, invested in some back end technology, marketing things, and really started putting myself out there as a business and charging money.
Excellent. I actually love the name Single to Shadi. I think that it's so poignant for, what you're trying to achieve, right? So I wanted to know, like, initially when people start their businesses, right? There's all these things that they have to put in place in terms of the back end stuff and everything, right? But most importantly, you are starting a service-based business. So when you're starting a service-based business, you are the business, you are the face of the business, and you have to sort of drive it forward, right? So
Correct.
basically what I wanted to know is that, how are those initial years? And how did you become an effective matchmaker?
Yeah, the initial years, it was a lot of, excitement that, wow, people are actually interested in working with me. But then the imposter syndrome kicks in. It's like, okay, well, I got a group of people. They entrusted me with their hopes, needs, wants, and fears. And then I can't deliver either because maybe my pool's not big enough. I'm still figuring out how the heck matchmaking works, creating my community to go out there and search for you. So in the initial stages, it was really scary because it was just me. People were starting to really trust me. People were starting to give me money. And it was like, well, now I need to deliver. But I think that the biggest obstacle of running a self-based or where you are the service or the product is that strong man or that head man syndrome. And I learned early on that if I was going to spend 3 hours every day after work, after the kids went to bed, focusing on my side hustle, which is what it was at the time, that I needed to be focusing on the operations and the running of the business so that I'm servicing my clients. What does that mean? That means I can't focus 3 hours on marketing. I can't sit there and make a TikTok for 3 hours. That means I cannot do an Instagram live. That means I cannot go out and hang out with my friends. I can't go on vacation. There's other things that I had to either reevaluate as priorities in my life so that I had the time and energy to take this from a hobby to a true full-fledged business. And so early on, I learned that marketing is one of those things that you absolutely needed, but I'm not good at it. So why am I wasting my time on something I'm not good at? Let me focus on what I am good at. And that was my first kind of like aha moment of, all right, I'm spending money, I'm investing, and this is a real business now because I've got another agency group person, if you will, on the hook that I am now paying. So I need to deliver for them so that they can deliver for me. That cycle really started, I think, when I was ready to let go of the marketing piece.
Okay. And when did it transition from being a side hustle to like a full-time business?
I was actually really blessed that culturally, with the concept of matchmaking coming out, people were approaching me. Hey, Radha, I've always been, connected like you. I've got lots of, and the pandemic hit. So lots of people had free time. They were exploring side hustles. So I kind of organically grew a full-fledged team. We already talked about marketing. I brought on associate matchmakers. I brought on virtual assistants. I brought on ambassadors in different market areas to start doing events locally. So I would say that it became a full-time business because we were able to bring in people who were so excited about what we were doing to run it full-time without any of us dedicating or quitting our job until 2022. 2022, I was very blessed to be able to showcase all of my work and all of my initiatives from the past couple of years and bring on a partner who was able to give me some funding, some money to be like, I believe in your vision, go for it. And so we've been full-time since the beginning of 2022, about 10 months now.
Okay, excellent. And how is the business doing right now?
It is going gangbusters, Tarek. It's amazing how much a little bit of time and dedication really changes the game. There's times over the years where I'm like, I've only got 60 clients. I've only got 300 clients. I could fold up any, I could just call it an experiment. Didn't work out. I can walk away. But now we're at like 1,200 every day, adding 10, 15. You just see these numbers climbing. You see that groundwork of the past 4 years really taking off now. And so there's not even a thought or an inkling in my mind that I'm going to shut down now. Not going to happen.
Excellent. And we want to see you go forward, build a real business. And well, it is already a real business, but the thing is that we want to see more expansion. And we're going to talk about expansion in a bit. But I think one of the things which a lot of people would be curious about is what is the unique nature of Single to Shadi? How do you sort of stand out from so many other similar type of services that there are in our North American market?
Yeah. I'm not sure what the demographics are of the S Factor listener, but for any of those who are South Asian or South Asian identifying, we kind of grew up with this antiquated notion of what a matchmaker or an auntie, rishta auntie was. And so I kind of approached it by flipping that concept on its head. I wanted to be affordable, here for everybody, work with all religious backgrounds, work with all sexual orientations and gender preferences, identities, because I thought the biggest common denominator in North America for us is we're brown, we have immigrant related experiences and stories in our life. That's enough of a common bond. We bring some values that maybe come from other parts of the world. Those are enough of a common bond for us to forge a new connection and relationship in North America. For the most part, that is what my clients are looking for. Somebody who similarly grew up brown or understands brown culture, understands Western culture as well, and has made their home and identity now in this part of the world. So that, I think, is a huge step difference between me and the traditional matchmaker, the old school matchmaker in the South Asian community. Newer competition is out there. Technology, kind of what I mentioned to you earlier, is that dating apps are out there. We started with Caucasian dating apps. They really hit took off in the early 2010s. And then quickly we saw cookie cutter brown versions emerging. And it seemed groundbreaking at the time because it was like, wow, the first ever Indian dating app. But when you boil down the components, it's just another dating app. It just works the same as everything else. And it's got the same issues, the same input-output concept. So I think that by creating our model, which I think we might be going into a little bit later, but we're that good middle ground between dating on the apps, doing all the work yourself, that DIY experience that you're still paying for and maybe not getting anything out of. And then what we offer is, you're still going to pay maybe slightly more, nothing crazy like those traditional matchmakers, but enough that you have that third person involved to make the right choices for you, to guide you through that experience, and that make sure that you're being heard, felt, and really understood throughout that process.
Excellent. Could you walk me through what a sort of new client onboarding journey is like? There are lots of single people who are looking for help to make that connection, right? So when they sign up with your service, what happens next?
Yeah, signing up is super easy. Again, another South Asian term, I don't know if your listeners are familiar with it, the concept of a biodata or a resume. It's essentially, that's it. You're putting in your basic demographic details, kind of like what's your diet, your religion. All the dating apps have the same concept, right? Basic demographic details, which we use for filtering and searching. And for our use, the reason is we really just want to make sure you do identify a South Asian heritage, that you're over the age of 25 and physically located within the US or Canada, just because those are like the basic kind of needs and services that we deliver to our clients. And with a bachelor's degree, I apologize, I missed that. There's 4 components. So that's all the application is, short and sweet. You fill that out. After that, you are actually sit down with a matchmaker, myself or somebody from our team, and go through an interview process. It's about 45 minutes to an hour where we really go into kind of who you are, where you've come from, what shaped who you are as a person. We're not even talking about relationships yet, just kind of who you are, what you're bringing to the table. Then we talk about kind of what you're looking for in a partner, why, what are the motivations, what's important to you, what's a deal breaker versus nice to have, kind of have that conversation. And then we juxtapose that against, okay, tell me who you are, tell me what you're looking for. Well, what have you tried already? Let's dive into some of your patterns or pitfalls that we need to avoid, and kind of, is there something that maybe you didn't notice that I can kind of pull out just from high level going through your relationship history? And I give them a little bit of homework or assignment, maybe like, here's a pattern that we need to maybe further evaluate, or just a little bit of a pointer or tip or trick just to get them thinking a little bit differently, because what they've done in the past clearly hasn't worked. And then lastly, we talk future. This is the part where people, you'd be shocked, Tarek. Most people, I'd say 80% of my clients haven't thought about future. They're like, get to marriage, maybe plan my big fat Indian wedding, but what happens after you get married? Literally 80% of my clients haven't thought about this. Do you want to have kids? Where are you guys going to live? How do you feel about in-laws? Who's going to be taking care of elder care? When do you want to have children? Are you going to stay at home? There's all these nuances that people don't talk about that I want to make sure you're at least thinking about before we introduce you to somebody, because those conversations should be had well before marriage, and you might as well start having them with me so you can be on the right page about it for yourself. All right, so then you registered, you've done the interview, you've given us everything that you want. Radha, here's my hopes, dreams, fears, wants, and needs. Go out there. Another thing that's unique about Single to Shadi, which I think is different than matchmakers in general, in more on the app side of things, is that we have a database. So once you registered, you do the interview, you come into our database. Immediately, we have between 800 to 1,000 clients, as I told you earlier, to start searching for you. I have that dating eligible pool ready to go. And based on what you're looking for, we start showing you profiles. I think the beauty of working with a matchmaker is that accountability piece. DIY dating on the apps that's what led to ghosting. It's so easy for you to be like, oh, I'm just not going to talk to her, or it's been a week, he hasn't responded, I'm over this, whatever. I think when you deal with a matchmaker, my team, we're not going to let you go ignoring people. We check in with each individually. Are you actively talking to each other? How do we get you to meet in person? What's not working? If it's not, is it something that maybe we need to walk away from? Then let's make that decision. So you get like a little bit of a buddy, if you will, in the process for those people that we match you with. And the more that you go through this cycle of match, go through it with Radha, match, let's talk about it with Radha, we all get to know you deeper and better. If along the cycle you find your person, you hit it off, it ends up working out, that's amazing. And we've seen that happen. But then there's other people who've been working with us for a year, almost 2 years, who are like, it's okay, I'm not in a rush, but I'm not going back on the apps. Rather, I'm only going to date who you tell me to date. But that is the beauty of our model, is pay as you go, whatever works for your lifestyle. And we're here to add in that little bit of accountability that I think is just missing so much in our technology-driven world.
Very nicely said. And you've hit on some very key points there. And that is one of the things that we're going to be talking about right at the end. But okay. I think one of the more fascinating discussions is around measuring success. Traditional business models have your performance indicators, which indicate a level of success. How do you measure success for yourself and your team?
Well, we can look at it from traditional indicators of marketing conversion, lead conversions, who's clicking on newsletters. We've got a lot of those metrics as well. I think there's two big indicators for me is client acquisition, how quickly we're able to bring every year subsequently, cultural inflection points, how that's affected our client acquisition, as we bring in new team members, as we do expand into markets in person. All of those are showing, and we're able to measure what's working and what doesn't work, because we're being so new. I mean, I know we're 4 years old, but if you think about it in age of like companies, we're still so young and fresh. Client acquisition is the name of the game. We're here in a hyper growth mode. And so I'm very proud to say that we've been on a steady high and to the right trajectory with bringing on new clients. Adding on different service offerings also helped in that aspect. So that is a huge indicator for us. And then the ultimate indicator of success for matchmakers is who's getting married, who's hooking up, who's getting together. So for us, again, with our distinguishable points from traditional matchmakers that cost thousands of dollars, and the DIY approach is basically free, you do it yourself. Our price point is we're designed so that you're getting to a good first or second date experience. You're meeting the right person, you're having rewarding experiences in real life, and it's making your dating process overall better, less jaded, less harmful to your mental health, all kinds of stuff. So we've done over 200 plus successful introductions, and we've made over 3,000 referrals, meaning that we've actually sent matches for consideration, gotten feedback from over 3,000 interactions. So, and I would say in 4 years, I'm very, very proud of this fact that we've been able to onboard people so quickly and so rapidly. We've been able to, set them up in the way that they've been wanting to be set up, and continue to show them quality matches over the years.
Excellent. Those are very good numbers indeed. One of the things you mentioned was expansion into different markets. So looking into the 3-5 year horizon, right? Where do you see the business going, and what are your plans for expansion?
Yeah. Earlier, we talked about, as a service offering, as a person, the product, there's going to be a limitation. We talked about what is the first thing I had to take off my plate in order to expand and grow. Well, that got me thinking, yes, I am a single person. But what if there was a me in every single market? Or what if there was a me that focused on a specific demographic within that South Asian North American community? And so the expansion plans or goals are to have franchisees that own a particular demographic or geographic location throughout North America. We have laid the groundwork already by creating ambassadorships in certain major markets, Toronto as well. I'm very proud we have 2 active ambassadors in that market. And the idea is that, they come in wanting to be a part of the brand, get to establish a local community. They create their own presence, start networking and creating their own singles database. And eventually they would then own a franchise of Single to Shadi and own those clients and run it directly from their market. Where I see us growing, not only outside of North America, but it's anywhere that there's the South Asian diaspora environment. So we've got the West Indies, we've got parts of the African continent, Middle East, Southeast Asia, all over Australia, UK. There's places all over that we can continue to expand and franchise this model. And still, that's the only way we're going to be able to deliver a personalized approach and still touch so many people. But I love this idea, and it's already starting to pay off and working. So, I think this is the future, and this is how to make matchmaking evergreen. I don't know if you touch on branding at all in your success S factor, but one of the early kind of decisions I had to make was most matchmakers, they use their name in their brand. I think we saw with the pop cultural event that auntie from Mumbai, this and that. But most matchmakers do use their name, Caucasian, Indian, it doesn't matter. And I knew that was a limiting factor. So first thing I wanted to do is have that name that could live on without me. And being the S factor, maybe one day I'll sell it, and it doesn't need to have my name anymore. And I guess all this to say that I've always built this brand or this business with the idea this is bigger than me. I alone am not the founder or the limiter or the only person that should benefit from this business. It's really a concept for society, and I'm doing this for people, and that's exactly the way I set it up from day one.
Awesome. I really like those plans. And I know that next time when you're back on the S Factor, maybe in a year or so, I know we're going to hear, great things from you. So I want to finish off by asking a more practical question, if you will. I hear from a lot of people in my community, and, it's not like I'm out there, a lot of people know me. It's not like that, but a lot of people that I speak to, they tell me that finding a match is extremely difficult. It's very difficult. So I think the last question I have for you is that for South Asians, especially South Asians in North America, what do you think is the biggest challenge in finding that connection?
I think getting the right mix of East and West. Everybody always says to me, "Oh, I'm such a good mix of East and West," but it's so subjective. It's not just cultural. You've got religion, you've got diet, you've got where were you raised, or what are the languages you speak. So I think that is such a hard juxtaposition. We do a lot of educating at Single to Shadi as well. We've got a coaching component. We do a lot of free webinars, a lot of free Instagram just that idea to educate people around the concept of, hey, let's not be limiting in our thinking, right? Limiting in our beliefs. Let's be a little bit more open-minded and maybe approach people that you meet from past experiences rather than other people's experiences. And so there's a lot of coaching that has to happen. And while we are matchmakers, yes, we're not magicians. So a lot of times it's about analyzing why a person has these limiting beliefs, what is blocking them. And that's going to be a little bit deeper. That's going to be a little bit more of a long-term relationship that you need to have with us or a coach or somebody else. And that's why I think that, we talked about earlier, other service offerings and things like that. Why people gravitate to us is that, yeah, we've got matchmaking, but maybe you're not there yet. Maybe you just need advice. Maybe you're trying to understand why is my picker broken? And we're here to help you kind of understand all of that holistically on your journey from single to shadi.
Excellent. Radha, you have offered so much value to the audience today, and people who were not very familiar with matchmaking in general will have a much better idea of it and the business side of things as well. So if people wanted to find you, where would they look?
We are everywhere. We're on social media at Single to Shadi. You can email me directly, info@singletoshadi, and then our website is singletoshadi.com.
And all those links will be in the description below. And you talked about franchises, you talked about ambassadors. If people have particular interests and they wanted to apply for one of these, again, they just reach out to you and they ask about this, right? That's all.
Yes. Info@singletoshadi. You can DM us on Instagram. We're very accessible, but please, we are looking to expand. And if you're in any city that's got a pretty decent major market, South Asian singles, we would love to come to your city and work with you.
Awesome. Sounds good. Radha, again, thank you so much for your time today. I do appreciate that. And I wish you all the best with your future ventures.
Thank you so much, Tarek. Thank you so much for having me a guest on the S Factor.